Then Sean took the packages of seeds from his pockets and showed them to the children. Each package had a picture of what kind of seed was inside. Sean and the children planted the seeds inside the rock wall filled with dirt. Then Sean showed them that they should not step on the garden. The children understood, because when people work together and come to know each other in their hearts, they do not need words. Every day after that, Sean would bring a bottle of water with him on his patrol. Whenever he came to the spot where he and the children had made the garden, the children would be waiting for him, and together they would water the garden. One day, when it had been raining, Sean and the children made a big mud pie next to the garden. Then Sean mixed the mud with straw and started forming a dinosaur out of it. It did not take the children long to realize what he was doing, because children all over the world know and love dinosaurs, and soon they joined in. They made a dinosaur with a very long tail that stretched all around the garden, and huge feet and a kind of crown on his head that looked like a bunch of asparagus. They gave him an old rake to guard the garden with, and named him Veggie Man. The children laughed and laughed. Before long, little sprouts began to come up. Sean showed the children how to pull the weeds without harming the young vegetables that were growing in the garden. The children loved their garden. They brought their parents and sisters and brothers and friends to see it, and soon the other children wanted gardens too. Sean still had to do his job of patrolling the village, but as soon as his work was done he would gather a group of children and they would make a garden together. His family sent him some packages of seed. In fact, his whole town had heard about the gardens, and pretty soon Sean had more seed than he could plant. He asked some of the other soldiers whether they would help him make gardens with the children, and they said they would. Pretty soon the whole village was making gardens. The first garden that Sean and the children had planted had grown beautiful lettuce and tomatoes and beans and squash and, of course, broccoli. As the children and their families ate the vegetables, they grew stronger and healthier. And as they picked and ate the vegetables, they planted more seeds so that they would never run out. One beautiful day, when all the soldiers were making gardens with the villagers, the commanding officer came along and said, "Hey, what's going on here? You have to stop making gardens. We have to go on a raid." The soldiers had almost forgotten that they were in a war. "What are we going to raid?" they asked. "The village of No More Tears," replied the officer. "But why do we want to raid them?" asked the soldiers. "Because they are the enemy of our country," said the officer. "Oh, they probably just need some gardens," said Sean. "No, they are the enemy and we have to raid them," said the officer. "Sir, will you let some of us go and talk to them?" "I think we can make friends with them and teach them to make gardens instead of war," pleaded Sean. The officer did not think that this would work, but he agreed to give Sean and some of the people of the village one chance to talk to the people of No More Tears before they had their raid. As Sean and the others approached the village of No More Tears, the villagers began to shake and tremble. "What's wrong?" asked Sean. They let him know that they were scared. You see, they had heard many scary stories about the people of No More Tears. Sean had learned some of their language while they were working in the gardens together. "Look," he said, "I bet they're no different from you. You don't want to have a war, do you?" "No!" they all shouted. Well, I'm sure they don't really want to have a war either. The people trusted Sean, so they continued on their way, and they entered the village of No More Tears, carrying a white flag, the sign of peace. The men of the village were ready to fight with their rifles and guns and swords, but when they saw the white flag, they slowly put their weapons down. The villagers who had come with the soldiers told the people of No More Tears about the gardens, and invited them to come and see them. "Okay," they said, "we will come, but we will bring our weapons." "What if we all leave our weapons halfway between the villages?" Sean suggested. The men of No More Tears agreed. Sean noticed that the people of No More Tears looked very hungry. He asked one of the villagers to run ahead and ask the people of Soon to Be Glad to make a feast with the vegetables from the gardens and for all the soldiers to put their weapons away. When the people of No More Tears saw the gardens, they could not believe their eyes. When they ate the feast made from the delicious vegetables, they felt happy and content. They begged the people of Soon to Be Glad to show them how to make the gardens, and when the people of Soon to Be Glad agreed, they were so excited that they forgot all about their weapons. Soon all the villages in the land of No More Sorrow had heard about the gardens. As each village learned to make the gardens, they would teach another village how to do it. For a while the soldiers helped, but before long they were able to go home, because the villagers had become very good at making gardens, and there was no more war to fight. And that is how Shaun the Veggie Man's plan started the beginning of the end of war. And of course, every garden in No More Sorrow has a dinosaur to guard it.